want to talk to you guys today about a guy by the name of Jorge Bergoglio. Jorge Bergoglio was a Argentine man who was a trained chemist, and he worked in a food science laboratory as a technician and a chemist. When he was younger, going through getting his education, he served in jobs as a bouncer and as a janitor in Buenos Aires. You probably know him best for becoming the Pope and now going by Pope Francis. And if you're not Catholic, this may seem odd to you, but this is normal in Catholicism. They change their names. Gives them more of a regal sound, I guess. But he was just born Jorge Bergoglio in Argentina and had normal jobs and got a normal education and was a chemist and worked in a food science lab. He's just a man, by the way. And there's no pope in the Bible, and there's no reference or call or mandate to have one ever. In fact, we're told in Hebrews that there is one God and one mediator between God and man, and that is Jesus Christ. So not only is there one God, but there's only one mediator between us and God, and that mediator is Jesus Christ. So I don't have to go through any other man, any person, any priest, any bishop, any cardinal, or any pope to talk to God. I can talk to God directly because of the person of Jesus Christ. So this past week, Pope Francis, while on a trip to Singapore, he had a meeting. Let me see if I can find the name here. It looks like it's called the Singapore Together in Unity and Hope Interreligious Youth Organization. So he's at this Singapore stage with people from all different world religions. And you've probably seen this in the news. He's not speaking English, but he's got an interpreter. So I'm not going by anything I've read. I am going by listening to the actual video, but I don't speak his language, so I am going off of his interpreter. So assuming his interpreter is correct, which I'm sure they would have stopped him and corrected him if he weren't, here are the words that the Pope just said this week in Singapore. He said, quote, "Every religion is a way to arrive at God." Every religion is a way to arrive at God. He went on to say, and I quote, "Hindu, Muslim, these are just different paths. These are just different paths." This is called pluralism. And it's something we talk a lot about in Men's Alliance, especially in our Carry the Fire course, where we are training men how to respond to the common questions about what we believe and why. So his statement, every religion is a way to God. The thing I want to hone in on here is a way. Every religion is a way to God. Now, if the Pope were here today, if I was fortunate enough to have the Pope sitting at the table with me, I would have only one question. Only one question for Pope Francis, and this is the same question we teach men to ask in Carry the Fire, and it's the same question you should ask of your family member that says all paths are just different roads to the same God. We all worship God, but we call him by different names. We're all just on different journeys to the same destination. Any of these types of things, this is pluralism, and we should ask the person one question, and it's my question for the Pope, and that is this: what did Jesus think about that theory? What did Jesus think about that theory? Gee, Pope Francis, that sure sounds nice, but what did Jesus have to say about that idea? You see, we can make up all kinds of good-sounding teaching. The way it's described in the New Testament as teaching that sounds good to people's itching ears. And that's what the Pope is doing. He's telling the people what they want to hear. He's talking to people of different religions, and he's telling them exactly what they want to hear, that we're all on equal paths to God. We're just calling it by different names. He says it's no different than just speaking different languages. That's his analogy. But what did Jesus have to say about that? Well, Jesus did not think that there were different ways to God. Jesus said in John 14:6, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no one comes to the Father except through me. There you go. It seems to me like the Pope has a pretty big disagreement right now with Jesus. So whenever the Pope and Jesus disagree, I make it a point to just go with Jesus. I'm with the guy who came back from the dead. So it doesn't matter what the Pope says. He does not dictate Christianity. He's just a man, Jorge from Argentina, the chemist working in a food lab. He got it wrong. It doesn't matter what uniform he wears or what hat he puts on or what name he changes his name to. He's not infallible. He's just a man. And Paul tells us in Romans that all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. So Pope Francis has fallen just as short of the glory of God as I have. And unfortunately, I'm very sad to hear that the head of the Catholic Church is committing such blatant and extreme heresy to go completely against the words of Jesus. And, you know, if I had a second question to ask him, it would probably be, if all paths are equal ways to God, then why did Jesus get crucified? Why death? If other paths are equally valid, why would Jesus have to die on a cross? If Hinduism and Islam could get us to the same destination, there would be no need for a crucifixion. But it's important that when we have these conversations, we be able to have them in a non-confrontational, relaxed manner. And that's why the use of questions is so important. I don't need to go to work trying to dismantle the Pope's statement. He needs to go to work supporting his statement. And the way we make somebody do that is by asking them questions. So the tactical response to the Pope is, what did Jesus have to say about that? And now he's got to establish the support for the claim he's made. He's just made the claim of pluralism, and now he needs to support it. So we're going to hold him to that by asking him questions like, what did Jesus have to say about that? Why did Jesus have to die, if that's true? So we should be relaxed ambassadors for Christ who learn how to ask the right questions to get people to think. Hopefully this podcast today has got you thinking about why all paths cannot possibly be true, because Jesus of Nazareth made an exclusive truth claim to be the only way. In Acts 4:12, it also tells us, for there is no other name under heaven given to mankind by which we must be saved. There is no other name under heaven given to mankind by which we must be saved than Jesus Christ. Jesus said, I am the way. And the Pope said, every religion is a way. So think about this when you have to choose between what's popular, what's pleasing to the crowd, what's tickling people's itching ears. Always go with the narrow path that Jesus is on.